What's up guys, this is VinylicPuma, back with another Fallout 76 video, and I wanted to talk about what I would consider to be the tragedy of Fallout 76. Or perhaps more to the point, why Fallout 76 could in fact be or eventually be a good game, but how one mistake or a trend of mistakes have possibly ruined its potential. Now before we start, I may come off as a little bit hostile in this video, but I feel like there are certain things that need to be said. As always, feel free to disagree, but let's just go ahead and start to talk about what initially inspired this video. A couple days back now, Todd Howard was doing an interview with The Guardian and was quoted as follows. "We avoid the word survival because people's minds immediately go to DayZ and Rust and certain other games, and these comparisons are not really accurate for what we're doing. If you think about the survival mode we've made in Fallout 4, it has that vibe. Fallout 76, although it's an online game, when I play it, I mostly still play it solo. We like those experiences as much as our fans do." Now at first glance, I have to admit this sounds pretty good. I was a pretty big fan of Fallout 4's survival mode, and having Fallout 76 play like that but with multiplayer does sound like it could be potentially appealing. Granted, I definitely prefer a traditional single-player Fallout game, but I'll at least try it and see what I think. At the same time though, and given some context, this statement is totally absurd when you consider that Fallout 76 has been marketed, or at least referred to, as a softcore survival type game. Saying that we avoid the word survival is silly when you've said it's softcore survival. Now, fan reception to Todd's statement has been fairly mixed. However, a general trend that some, including myself, have picked up on ever since Fallout 76 was teased is just how mystifying this game is. And not in a good way. In fact, I would argue Fallout 76's greatest mistake up to this point is how Bethesda really hasn't been very forthcoming about what Fallout 76 actually is. True, Bethesda has told us that Fallout 76 is always online, it's not strictly single player, and it won't have NPCs. However, has anyone noticed that Bethesda has never really shown us any extended gameplay to get an idea of how the game is supposed to play? And then when people speculate about what Fallout 76 is actually going to be like, you have these quotes that come out of Bethesda, like this one from Hines that say, and I quote, "I mean, it's nothing like Fortnite. It's not even remotely an MMO. It's not like this or that. It's not like Destiny. It's not like any of those things. It's not like Rust, other than it's an online world with people in it. Fallout 76 is a role-playing game. It's not a PvP kill everybody fest." The funny thing about this entire scenario, and from what I can guess must be Bethesda's frustration at how Fallout 76 has been received by the mainstream, is that far less people would be engaging in all of this rampant speculation about the game if Bethesda was simply more forthcoming about what Fallout 76 actually is. Think about it for a second. I'm sure a lot of people were somewhat upset at the revelation that Elder Scrolls Online was an MMO and not a sequel to Skyrim back when it was announced. However, I think many people were far more understanding about the Elder Scrolls Online because it was communicated precisely what it was and what it was going to be when it was announced. We had no reason to believe that Elder Scrolls Online was anything but an Elder Scrolls MMORPG. As for Fallout 76, the game was teased in May 2018, and if you had just watched the teaser trailer, you wouldn't have had any inclination that Fallout 76 was anything other than a new Fallout spin-off that was in the vein of the games that preceded it. For all we knew, Fallout 76 was going to be another single-player RPG that, much like New Vegas, would serve as an iterative improvement to what Bethesda just did with Fallout 4. However, rather than finding this out from an official source at Bethesda that Fallout 76 wasn't going to be anything like this, we had to have Jason Schreier of Kotaku leak information to actually tell us what the game was really going to be like, only for it to later be confirmed during Bethesda's E3 press conference. A question I think that needs to be asked is, why on earth did this happen? Bethesda had every opportunity from the time the teaser trailer dropped to the game's E3 reveal to properly manage player expectations about what Fallout 76 was, but didn't. Instead, they almost seemed to sit back and let the revelations from the leaks fester. At points, some of us simply thought that Fallout 76 was like previous Fallout titles, just with co-op. At other times, we thought the leaks were fake. After all, what we had seen in the teaser didn't give us much reason to think otherwise. The leaks that Fallout 76 was an online multiplayer survival game were so out of left field that I think we could be forgiven for doubting the validity of the leaks, and then also be forgiven for getting upset when the leaks ended up being true. The funny thing about this entire situation is that much like what happened with The Elder Scrolls Online, I think far less people would have been upset that Fallout 76 was an online multiplayer survival RPG if Bethesda would have communicated that fact better. And I think by continuing to not effectively communicate and be forthcoming about what Fallout 76 is really going to be like, that's a big reason why we're seeing so much negativity surrounding the game. And if you ask me, that is the tragedy of Fallout 76. What could potentially be a good, new, and potentially interesting gameplay concept has been ruined by a lack of proper information and what seems to be a bizarre unwillingness to give or show us that information. Maybe that stems from Fallout 76 not being in a totally complete state just yet to show off some of those systems, but I'd still say that we need to see those systems sooner or later. For example, if Fallout 76 can be played in a solo setting, why not show us 10 or 15 minutes of gameplay to give us a vague idea of how solo questing might work? Or in the case of the game's PvP, show us a solid 5 minutes or so of how the PvP is going to work to just give us an idea of what that's going to be like. In my humble opinion, this isn't really that much to ask, considering that when Bethesda premiered Fallout 4 back at E3 2015, they showed the first 10 to 20 minutes of that game. You pretty much got to see character creation all the way up to meeting Dogmeat at Red Rocket for the first time, and by doing this, Bethesda got everyone a lot more familiar with Fallout 4 systems and its basic mechanics. Funnily enough, Bethesda did something sort of similar with Fallout 76 at E3 2018. However, the exact second you exit the vault, it transitioned to a screen showing some of the game world. We didn't get to see any of the first areas, and they didn't really showcase how certain things worked. After all, while Todd Howard has been on record saying that VATS is going to be basically like slowing down time, we've never really even seen that in gameplay. Instead, we were just shown some snippets of PvP, base building, and obtaining launch codes, and then firing off some missiles to let us know that those features would be in the game. By showing us more of the game and just being more forthcoming about what Fallout 76 is in general, fans of Bethesda's traditional single-player RPG experiences, as well as potential new fans, can know what they're getting into, because for all we know, what Todd Howard is saying is accurate, and in fact, Fallout 76 is just like a toned-down version of Fallout 4 survival mode. If a lot more people were able to see that and verify that for themselves, I think far more people would be excited for the game. Instead, given Fallout 76's teaser and the subsequent revelation that Fallout 76 was an online multiplayer game, it shouldn't be too surprising that people are worried and or concerned about what this game actually is and how it will really play. What it really comes down to, and again, is just that Bethesda needs to be more forthcoming about what this game is. And if they were, that would ease a lot of people's concerns. At the end of the day, I think some of the mistakes surrounding Fallout 76 can easily be corrected. Gamescom is in about a month or so, and theoretically, there will be plenty more times that Bethesda is going to be able to show off Fallout 76 to give everybody a good idea of how the game is actually going to play. And I definitely do think that we need that because I think it's fair to say that Fallout 76 has a lot to prove. After all, this isn't a traditional Bethesda RPG where that's been basically the game that Bethesda has been making for the past 15 years and is just something that is totally new. I guess we'll see what happens, but until then, guys, I think that's going to wrap up this particular video. If you liked this video, feel free to leave a like. Did you like what I had to say? or not, leave that in the comments section below. Click the bell so you can be notified when I upload more videos if you're interested in that. And as always, thank you all so much for supporting the channel. Take care, and I'll see you all in the next one.